Hey guys, G here back at Luna Geckos. You know what? This is kind of an emergency video. It wasn't planned, but we felt that this was pretty important stuff and we should talk about it. I'll set it up for you. Woke up this morning, power was out. Come to find out that due to the extreme cold weather here on the Gulf Coast, the demands on the power grid were so high that the power company proactively did rolling blackouts to relieve the strain on the grid to avoid a catastrophic event, which could have left us without power instead of for hours, potentially for days or weeks. So let me get a couple things set up here, listen to the intro, and then I'll walk you through what happened.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Okay, we're back. So I'll set it up a little bit better for you. I woke up this morning a little bit before 8 a.m. Looked over to grab my phone to see if any of you messaged me. But this is a serious subject. So a little bit before 8 o'clock, I wake up. I realize the alarm clock's not on. And my phone's no longer charging. Power's out. We've got a problem. First thing I do, get dressed, get downstairs quickly as possible. Got to make sure the gecko room is okay. Most importantly, the incubators. Now I'll tell you, we do keep our incubators, as we showed you in the room tour, on a small APC power backup. It's good for little blips, maybe a little storm, bolt of lightning, power goes out for a little bit. It keeps you safe and sound for about 30 minutes. Man, I hinted in that room tour video that I wanted to upgrade that thing and have more backup power on the incubators than just 20-30 minutes. Haven't gotten around to it yet. Most certainly going to be on Amazon later today looking for a bigger one. But even if I had a bigger one, power went out approximately 7 a.m. That power backup would have kept the incubators running until about 7:30. I woke up about 7:45. Thank God. So only about 15 minutes. So the temperature in the incubators, the male incubator was at 90, female incubator was at 81. That temperature had only fallen by the time I got down here about 5 degrees, maybe 8 in the female incubator. I got to get those eggs out of there because once they get below about 70 degrees, some will say 74 degrees Fahrenheit, it's potentially fatal to leopard gecko and African fat tail eggs. Now, your New Caledonians can come down a little bit further. They can get into the 60s. So they were in a sealed mini refrigerator that I also had to get them out of there too, because if that temperature would have continued to decline, we were going to have a problem. After that, I got to secure the new cows. They're in these vivariums behind me that have blankets over them, and I'll explain to you what we did to try to keep them secure while we awaited the power to come back on, and ultimately plan B, if the temperature in this room would have gotten too drastically low, we would have had to get them out of here. And then the big racks over here with the African fat tails and leopard geckos, those things are running 90, 92 degrees. They're enclosed in the rack system. That PVC holds that temperature pretty good. That heat tape will keep the temperature for a little bit. Worried about them, but they were last on the list because they were maintained at a pretty good temperature and I had a little bit more time with them. Eggs first, secure the new cows second, worry about the fat tails and the leopard geckos third. So let me explain to you what we did. First thing, because we ship a lot of geckos, we had a whole bunch of these laying around. I didn't count them, but I think I had about 30 of these in a package still. These are the Uniheat 40-hour heat packs. Started ripping these open as fast as possible, shaking them up to activate them, to get them ready to get into the new cow tanks. So after I got a bunch of these open, I have these little I think these are little barrier fruit containers that they sell. You can use these to, we buy these on Amazon, I think. I'll double check that. But you can find something similar on Amazon. These are those little fruit containers, and you can see they have the little holes, air holes in them. I like to use these for shipping because I can keep the heat pack in these sealed, and then I can tape it to the top or the side of the shipping container or the shipping box, and it won't touch the gecko deli cup. And because it's like this, it allows a lot more airflow in here when it's in the shipping box to be able to give you a better temperature. So ripped open a bunch of these. Actually, I only have 2 left, so I used a bunch. Ripped them open, got them ready, got them in these. Put one in every one of the vivariums that currently has 1 or 2 geckos in it. A couple of them have, well, the Urodactylotes have 1-2 groups, so there's 3 in each of those. But then we actually have a couple of our gargoyles currently paired up, so there's 2 and 2 in each of those tanks. A 1-1 group. There's 2 geckos in one tank, there's 2 geckos in another tank, each a 1-1 group. And then we have a crested that's breeding right now, a pair that's breeding. So one of these vivariums back here doesn't have any cresteds in it. So we didn't put these in the tanks that didn't have any geckos in them. The other thing we had to hurry up and do, and because we ship a lot of geckos, we have a lot of these laying around. And good news is, or maybe it's bad news, maybe people need to order more geckos. But these big boxes don't get used a whole lot. And I have 3 of these laying around. These are the 30 by 16 by 10s. Same standard shipping box that you've seen 1,000 times. You know, the styrofoam enclosed box, right? I have 3 of these. I can get an awful lot of geckos in 3 of these. And then I had quite a few of these laying around. These are the, boy, that's a weird size. They're basically 16 by 11 by 9. These, I was able to break out 2 of these and get all of the eggs in 2 of these. The eggs are currently in deli cups or in those plastic organizers, those little jewelry organizer divider things that we use for the new cows that we showed you last Sunday, and how to incubate gecko eggs. So I grabbed all the new cows out of the mini fridge, got them in this, and then I grabbed all the male and female eggs out of the sea serpent hot box incubators, and I was able to get all of them in one of these. Good news is it's still pretty early in the season, so at this point, I don't know, I don't want to do the math. There's maybe 50 eggs over there cooking, maybe a little bit more. But I was able to use 2 of these boxes, get all the eggs in these. And before I did that, I went outside, started the car, which yesterday I made sure had a full tank of gas in case of an emergency. Started the car, got the temperature in the car up to 80 degrees. Then I quickly got the gecko eggs out of the incubators into the styrofoam shipping boxes, and then I got them out to the car. They sat in the car in 80 degrees, and I actually temperature gunned them a couple times, and they were hovering between 78 and 80 degrees. They sat in the car with the car running for about 5 hours until the power finally came on at approximately noon. In the meantime, we got the heat packs in all the new cow vivs. We got blankets on top of all of them. Turned off all the lights and hoods before we put the blankets on them, just in case the power came back on. We didn't want to potentially start a fire. So we were able to get them all covered up, got a heat pack in them, was watching the temperature. We are currently, power's been back on for a little bit now. The room is now back up to about 67, 68 degrees. So I'm feeling a lot more comfortable right now than I was a couple hours ago. A couple hours ago, I was in panic mode. The other thing that we were ready to do as we watched the room temperature continue to fall, we were very careful to make sure the doors to the room stayed closed, had a blanket under the door to try to maintain the heat in this room, because the reptile room in general is warmer than the rest of the house. And so keeping this room as isolated as possible and not just letting that door willy-nilly open and close was going to help us keep this temperature going in here with all that radiant heat coming off of the rack system. Everything was in an ambient 72, 74 degrees to begin with, plus all these racks at 90, 92 degrees. I was able to keep this room at a pretty good temperature for a fair amount of time, but it did fall. It was about 16 degrees Fahrenheit outside this morning, so that temperature was coming down in the house. We were losing a degree or two, every 15, 20, 30 minutes. And my plan, after I secured the eggs, after I got emergency heat in all the vivariums and the blankets on all the vivariums, next step was to be ready in case the power doesn't come back on and I have to get all these geckos to safety. And safety in this instance was going to be in the vehicle where the eggs were. So again, fortunately, because we ship a lot of geckos and we do expos, we have a ton of shipping materials and containers. We got 8 ounce with holes, 12 ounce with holes, 16 ounce with holes. We got the big 6, I think the big 6.5s. We have, I don't know, 100 or so of these in our box over here. But it takes time. It takes time to get those out, get a lid. Obviously, it's going to take time to get every single gecko, depending on how many you have, every single gecko out of their enclosure, into one of these, into a shipping box, and then to safety where you have a constant heat source that you can rely on. So that's what we went after. It's been a crazy morning here at Luna. I think the life lesson is, for any emergency, it doesn't have to be a power outage. Your furnace can break. You never know. Now, if your furnace breaks and you still have electricity, you have a good plan. Similar to our plan, make sure you have a heater, a space heater, an electric heater that you can put in the room, and you can at least bring the room up to temperature. We have one of those that we keep here in the gecko room. It's electric. Not going to work. A good option is something like the Mr. Buddy or the Big Buddy. There are a couple different models. They run off those little camping propane tanks, and they're safe for indoor use. Make sure you read the instructions. Don't go running out and buying a propane heater or a kerosene heater and throwing it in your gecko room if you are not absolutely sure that it's safe for indoor use and that you follow all the instructions necessary to make it safe for indoor use. Be very, very careful. I'll show you at the very end what I ultimately did in the middle of all this going on, after we got everybody locked down and secured and stable for what was probably going to last them about another hour or two. I shot out and went to the local hardware store and bought a generator. So this isn't happening here at Luna Geckos again. We now have a generator that if the power goes out for an extended period of time, we're going to pop that generator on and we're going to plug all the incubators and all the rack systems, everything right into that generator. Now again, don't run out and buy a generator and put it in your reptile room or your gecko room and fire that thing up. Generators have to be run outside. They have to be run safely. There are a lot of things that you have to know before you just fire up a generator and off you go. You got to have the right size for your equipment. You got to have it in a well-ventilated area. Read the book. Please read the book on safe operation of a generator. Let me show you around a little bit about what we did. Got to get my glasses. All right, so we were able to get all the vivariums heat packed up. You can see the heat pack in the side there. We were able to get these all set up pretty quickly. Now, remember, these heat packs aren't instant. You have to look, you can find it online. There is a graph that shows the efficiency of these heat packs. I think these 40-hour ones take about 3 hours to get to maximum temperature. So you have to be ready. You have to get these in early. And we probably, at the time that I got these in, the ambient temperature in the room had fallen to about 65, I would say. So I was hoping that before we got below 50, that we would be able to reach maximum temperature on these and get them fired up. Now the room is just a god-awful mess. We were filming this week's episode, which is supposed to be playing right now. We were filming how to build a bioactive vivarium yesterday evening. Instead of waking up this morning to give you a nice gecko video, we're doing an emergency video. This is interesting. I had a giant Yeti cooler that I wanted to test since I had broken out all these heat packs. I had 3 heat packs left that I threw in this Yeti, and I threw a temperature sensor in the side through the drain hole, duct taped it up. You can see it there. I duct taped it up just to see how long these would take to get up. Now this cooler was not in here. It was sitting out in a very cold room out in the house. So when it came in here, the inside temperature in this cooler was probably in the mid-40s. Now I have 3 heat packs in this. This thing's got a lot of dirt and sand in it. This was at the beach. These heat packs are warm. They are not hot. So you do have to be prepared. It's going to take them a while to heat up. And now our racks, our power's been back on now for a fair bit. You can see the mess, tearing up all the heat packs, getting the emergency heat in all the vivariums. Now these are all the racks over here. Oh look, our video lights, because like I said, we were videoing how to build a bioactive vivarium that was supposed to be airing right now. You're just going to have to wait till Sunday. Now we're back to temp now on all the African fat tail and leopard geckos. So they're looking good. We're back to temp on the new cows. And our eggs aren't very organized anymore because they got pulled out quickly and thrown in pretty quickly. Gently, but put back in pretty quickly. And we're, as you can see, back to temp over here now. Sometimes you have to make choices. I didn't have enough heat packs for the roaches and the crickets, so they were going to have to ride this thing out. Crickets can get rather cold. They just tend to go dormant. Wasn't quite sure about the dubia, but these did get back up to temp very quickly. And they're sitting at a nice 85 degrees now, so I think we're going to be all right. We got some mealworms right there that are getting gut loaded. The other thing I did, and I debated this, I wasn't quite sure what to do. The sun was coming in from this window because the sun rises in the morning on that side of the room, so it beats on that side of the house rather intensely. So I felt that the risk of opening the curtains and letting heat, cold air in or heat out, was outweighed by the possibility of the sunlight helping warm this room. So I decided to go ahead and open both curtains on that side of the room. Now the 5 baby crested geckos that are down here in their grow out bins also got an emergency heat pack, and these are gargoyle gecko vivariums. They also got emergency heat packs. Now right before I started filming, I took their blanket off because I wanted to show you the difference on the gun. So we'll gun the back. We'll just gun something random in the back. All right, we're at 72.6, 73.5, just kind of depends on what I'm hitting. There's the back corner. We're at about 72, 73 degrees. Let me gun this heat pack for you. See that? We're 10 degrees hotter on that heat pack, and that will continue to climb. So they're not fast at reaching their temperature, but I have to believe, especially with the blankets covering the vivariums, I have to believe that that was beneficial. Now you can see the geckos are doing all right. There's a gargoyle up there. They're up there hugging the light, trying to get extra warm. They do this from time to time, but not super often. You can see in this tank, another one's up there doing the same thing. Let's go ahead and close these up. So the room, the ambient temperature in the room got down to the low 60s, high 50s. And my critical point, where I was going to call it if the power wasn't back on, is once we got to about 50, 52, 50 degrees. I had actually already started putting a bunch of deli cups in stacks, getting ready. Had lids out, had cups out, counted the number of bins I had, number of geckos that I was going to have to get out of here. And I was getting that ready, and my go, no-go temperature was going to be about 52, maybe 50 degrees. I was going to have to start pulling geckos and getting them into the large shipping boxes and then get them out to the car as quickly as possible. First thing out was going to be the 5 babies. Piece of cake. I could have got them out really quick. And then I was going to dig out the rest of the new cows, and then I was going to work my way through the African fat tails and leopard geckos and get everybody safely to the car. Fortunately, we didn't have to do that, but I think you have to be ready. You have to know what you're going to do before you have to do it. Because if you get right in the middle of it and you don't have a plan, you could be in trouble. So sit down, think about it, plan it, be ready. Make sure that your geckos can be safe, and above all, make sure you and your family can be safe. But have a plan. Don't wait until bad things happen. Be prepared. Hope this video helps you prepare a little bit. You can take some of the tips that we used and apply them to your emergency plan. And if you have some tips or some ideas, please share them with us in the comments. I'd love to see some of your ideas. I'm going to go ahead and get these blankets off because we're now back up to about 72 degrees ambient here in the room. So I'm going to get the blankets off and we can maybe check on everybody and see if they're out and about or how they're doing. Let me see if I can see anybody. I actually see a crested tail sticking out of the moss. It's a juvenile female, so what she did to protect herself is she dug a hole and got herself down in the soil to try to preserve her warmth and her energy. There's no one in here right now. I don't really see anybody. I think they may have all gone into protection mode and dug themselves down into their substrate under a cork hide or down under the moss. We'll do a little more looking and see if we can see how everybody's doing and let you know. But before we wrap this up, let me show you what I was able to get at the local hardware store, so we're not going to have to deal with this again at Luna Geckos. All right, there it is. It's our new emergency 1700 watt generator. That's going to be our lifesaver to make sure we can keep our incubators on, keep our one heater going in this room, and probably keep all the racks on so we won't have to do this emergency shuffle again and get everybody out to the car to safety. Got a little bit of work to do to get this ready, but I'm not going to wait until the next time the power goes out. I'm going to plan. I'm going to make sure I know how to operate this. I'm going to test the load on it to make sure it'll drive everything that I need it to drive in this room. Shouldn't be a problem at 1700 watts, but we do want to make sure, do a little bit of math, do some load calculations, and make sure that this generator can safely operate everything in this room. Again, don't run out and buy a generator, don't run out and buy a heater. Do some research, read the manuals, make sure you operate them safely. I apologize for my appearance today. It's been a heck of a morning. Didn't even get to wear any of my merch. And it's a lot colder here than it is in Venice, I promise you that. We don't sell this, but you can check out our merch at lunageckos.shop as always. I'll clean up for the next video. This hat didn't work real well with my glasses. I don't know if you saw any of that when I was walking around, but these glasses aren't really built for wearing a hat. Hope this video helped you. Hope you learned something. If you learned anything, I hope you learned to just be prepared. Have a plan. Don't wait until it's too late. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Leave us comments, especially if you have tips for all of us on different ways that you prepare for an emergency. We'd love to hear it in the comments. I'm sure it would be helpful for everyone. And please share this video. You never know. Everybody could have a crisis or an emergency and they're going to have to do something very similar to this. And above all, don't forget to subscribe to Luna Geckos. Until next time, stay warm, stay safe. I'm G. See ya.
It sound right, boy.